Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amy, and if you're not new here, hello, welcome back. Today we have a July favorites video. I don't think I did a favorites last week because it didn't really fit in with the video schedule, and also I had to skip a couple of videos this month due to life being hectic and being a bit ill and just work taking over, but we're back and we're on the regular schedule again. So the favorite videos, basically I pick 5 favorites for the previous month of plants that I've just been loving. It's usually ones that are doing really well and that look really nice, and that's why I love them. But yeah, so we're going to go through those today. I do just want to say thank you so much for all the love and support on the recent houseplant tour. It has been 2 years since I've uploaded one of those, and it is a big task. The video is like an hour and a half long, but it's done really well, and I just appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new here and you came from seeing that video, hello and welcome. My name is Amy. I'm an ecologist and I make videos about plants because I love them and we can share in our plant nerdiness. But anyway, if you've seen that video, you would have seen any of these plants, but just to select them for how they're doing recently and how much I've been loving them. The first one is Hoya linearis. It's a Hoya. It's a Hoya. So this is her. This is the full Hoya. Look how beautiful she is. Amazing, amazing, amazing bulb at the back, but it hangs on the curtain rail in front of this window here. You can tell which side hangs to the light. But yeah, so this plant is native to Nepal and China. It lives in kind of subtropical, humid, warm climates. And it was first published in 1825, so we have known about her for a while. The leaves are kind of, let me cover my face so you can really see. The leaves are kind of long. Beans are very, beans? They remind me of beans. It's quite different in terms of leaf shape compared to other Hoyas, and I think that's what makes this so amazing. It's just the way that it hangs. It's so gorgeous as a full, beautiful plant. It kind of grows, as you can see, it kind of grows a segment and then the leaves. Compared to other Hoyas, you know the way sometimes they'll have a big long vine first and the leaves will come later. This doesn't tend to do that. It kind of grows the leaves along the stem as it grows. But yeah, it is. Do I need to explain why it's a favorite? I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. This plant has flowered for me a couple of times. The flowers on these don't seem to last very long, and they don't tend to rebloom from the same peduncle like some of my other Hoyas will just continuously rebloom from the same peduncle. This doesn't really do that. It flowers for a short period of time, then they all die off, all the peduncles die off, and then it will happen again in a couple of months' time. I will share some footage of when this was blooming, and yeah, it's beautiful. I give it highlight, obviously. It doesn't like to be super dry. It's in a really big pot now though. I did up pot this from a really small pot a couple of months ago, and it has just been very happy with that. The only thing is, and I mentioned this as plant tour, is that it's very heavy on one side now, and I'm worried that that's going to start kind of ripping out the roots from this. I'm just going to have to be quite careful about that. But yeah, that is her total favorite. Loving, loving, loving. We're loving her. Doesn't like to be overwatered, I will say that. So the next plant is a small one. There's a fungus gnat in front of the camera and you are annoying me. I'm having a fungus gnat cycle at the moment. So the next plant is very small and very sensitive. It's small, it's sensitive little girl. So this is Mimosa pudica. This is also known as a sensitive plant. It is sensitive or reactive to, very reactive to its environment, reacts to touch. They have these tiny little hairs on the leaves that react. Even if you shake it too much, the leaves close, so I'm trying not to do that so that you can really see her in her glory. I'm gonna put my face away so you can really see. If I cover my face, it will focus. So you see how freaking beautiful this is? Now, there's also quite a few dry leaves as well. I will show you a video of this reacting to touch, although I'm actually going to put it down while I speak about it because I'm shaking it and I don't want it to be stressed. This plant is native to Mexico and tropical America. It is from kind of wet tropical habitats. It was first published in 1753, so it's been around a long while. And it has also been introduced to Australia, Africa, and India. It is used to wet tropical habitats, and it was first discovered in 1753. So the reason this is on my favorites is because it's quite a recent addition. I'd say in the last 6 months I got this, and it was not doing well, and it's still like a little bit on the rocks. I would say this is a little bit trickier of a plant to take care of, simply because it cannot dry out. If it dries out, the leaves immediately crisp up, as you can see, and they dry off. I've also lost a couple of like full stems as well. But if I don't look at it, and I don't move it, don't touch it, but I just make sure that it's constantly watered, then it's been doing pretty fine. I have it on the windowsill, so it's getting quite high light as far as my situation goes. I just think it's really cute, it's really delicate, it's literally sensitive. Yeah, I'm just really happy with how it's going. I do have it in a terracotta pot. However, this was like quite a big up pot for it when I did it. It was in like a teeny tiny little pot. So I was trying to make up for the porous kind of wicking nature of the terracotta by giving it more substrate, which will hold on to water for a longer period of time. And it's been doing pretty well with that. But again, yeah, I just can't look at it. To be honest, guys, what I'm finding is whenever I put a plant in a favorites video, it suddenly starts doing really badly. So I'm like actually nervous that now that I've spoken about it, it might start doing terribly, but I will update you and let you know if that's true. So the next one is a Hoya carnosa crimson princess, which is a cultivar of the species Hoya carnosa. I have the crimson princess and the crimson queen, and also the standard green-leaved Hoya carnosa as well in my collection. But the reason I'm picking this one is for a very special reason. It's because, okay, so this plant sits on the windowsill here. God, we have a lot of windowsills. I didn't realize that. We're on the windowsill party. So I don't know if you can see this kind of, these vines going along. This plant I've had for a very long time, like, I don't know, it must be about 3 years now, and it's been in this pot for the majority of that time. It could probably do with an up pot, but I always find that my Hoyas kind of prefer to be a bit root bound, and they do well with a little bit of stress that also can encourage them to flower, which is what's happening. So I did say in my houseplant tour as well that my Hoya carnosas have never flowered for me, and a lot of people said just keep them in consistently high light. To be honest, the majority of them I do anyway, and that's just never really done it. But sometimes with Hoyas, you just have to be patient, and like I said, I've had this plant 3 years, it's never flowered, and now we have something very special happening here. We have a little peduncle on this pink stalk. We have a pink peduncle. I mean, hello? Hello. Isn't that just the sweetest? So this is happening, and because of that, I'm so afraid about the care for this. I really don't want this to drop off before the flowers come in. I will hopefully film a time lapse and catch it opening, because this is a new one for me. Guys, can I also just show you how cute it is that Hoya vines like grab onto each other like this sometimes? And that really shows you the kind of epiphytic nature of how these plants grow as well, and how they like to grow. It's really beautiful. So that is her. She's on the favorites for a very obvious reason. Hoya carnosa as a species is native to South Central China, Japan and Taiwan. Was first published in 1810 and lives in quite subtropical, humid, wet type habitat. So that's where the species is from. To be honest, all of the Hoya carnosas are really easy Hoyas to grow. Now, they may not flower as easily as some other species, but in terms of care, they're very forgiving. They're not very sensitive in terms of like humidity and stuff like that. If you underwater them, if you overwater them slightly, they're not very sensitive. So they're a really good species to get into if you're first getting into Hoyas. If you are waiting on flowering as well, try increasing the light levels. The higher light, the more likely they are to flower. And personally, in my opinion, if they are a little bit root bound, they're generally a bit happier. And I do kind of think somewhere in my brain that if the plant is a little bit more stressed, it may be likely to flower as well. Because it's like, damn, it's time to reproduce because we ain't got much space left in here. That's what I think they're thinking anyways. So the next plant, I'm just gonna cover it with B-roll because it is way too awkward to take out, and there's a high potential of snapping the stem of this every single time I do that. So we're going to not do that today, but this favorite is Rhaphidophora decursiva. This plant, honestly, Rhaphidophora in general for me, I find them not so forgiving in terms of care. If you underwater or overwater these, they react to that quite quickly, I feel. Overwatered, you're gonna get yellow leaves. Underwatered, you're gonna get kind of drooping and crisping and stuff like that. So they do well with like ultimate consistency, I find. They also like maybe higher levels of light as well, and kind of like medium to high levels of light, I'd say. But yeah, because of that, it's a lot of the time with our plant care, we can't be consistent 100% of the time, and that's why I find that my Rhaphidophora always kind of suffer in that regard. So with this one, I have lost quite a few of the lower leaves along the stem of this plant, which, to be honest, is a normal process as well. Once your plants get bigger and more mature, they're gonna lose their older leaves just naturally anyway, even if it's not like a fault of your imperfect care. I have lost a few of these due to imperfect care as well, but just saying. So this is on the list because it's getting quite tall now and it's really growing up the shelf, and I think it looks absolutely beautiful. I love the shape of these leaves. I don't know why they remind me of like dragons or something. Don't ask me why, but that's what comes to mind when I look at this. Yeah, it's kind of growing all over the place. It's quite an odd grower, but it's beautiful. I have cut it, I have tried to propagate it unsuccessfully, but it might be time to cut it again, but every time I do, it just branches off and does something else. I also got, the reason I cut it actually a while ago is because I got this long stalk that was just kind of sending out a runner and wasn't having any leaves on it, that it was trying to look for something to grow on. So that's why I've kind of attached it to the shelf pole. While the aerial roots are not going to grow into that, they can't, it does provide it with a bit of support, and I think it's kind of okay with that at the moment. But yeah, this plant was first published in 1857 and it's native to India and southern China and kind of that whole area at the south. And again, native to wet tropical habitats, kind of like most of our climbing plants that are similar like that. They maybe start on the forest floor and they end up finding some tree or some thing to grow up on to get more mature, to dig their aerial roots in so that they can get bigger leaves and have more support, etc, etc. The final favorite for July is one that I'm literally afraid, it's like, I'm not even a Harry Potter fan at all, but it reminds me of when people say that you can't say Voldemort's name, because I find if I speak this species name into existence, it's gonna die. That's what I genuinely feel is going to happen. But this favorite is Begonia masoniana, and this is what it looks like. So definitely the coolest begonia I own. I'm obsessed with this plant, but I have learned to not look at it for too long, or it might die or not, you know. I just can't pay a huge amount of attention to it because it seems to die. But we're getting to, like, I'm literally afraid to say this, but we're getting to a point where she's growing pretty fast and pretty happy. And I think I've kind of we've understood each other a little bit more, and it's working out well. That's why she's on the favorites. This could all change within a few days. But the reason I love this, and I will include B-roll because it's impossible to show you really the beauty of this plant, but it has, like, if there's a plant in my collection to show you the definition of texture, it's this. It has spikes on it. It has amazing colors. Look at that coloration. We have amazing back of the leaves. Amazing. Like, hello. It is like, I don't know, it just makes me think of the world and like how everything is connected. These are what the little baby leaves come in as, and they're so cute. Really fluffy, hairy petioles. Just absolutely gorgeous. Very kind of lopsided, but quite happy there. It gets probably a lower light level compared to the rest of my plants. It's on the bottom of the shelf. It kind of gets like corner lighting, which is on this side of the plant. And when I got this, it really didn't do well. It had 2 or 3 other stalks which died. It definitely is a bit more of a complicated begonia to take care of, because it, similar to the Rhaphidophora, it does not do well with inconsistency. If it dries out, you can even see it here, it gets little kind of crispy bits on the end of the leaf, and that just kind of, on the end of the leaf, and that just kind of grows and takes over the leaf. It will crisp up, it'll dry out. Same with overwatering, the leaves will become mushy fairly quickly. It just has to have like stability, and then it's doing pretty well. But again, it's a plant that I just try not to look at. I don't like stress over it like maybe I would my variegated hibiscus. Like if that starts to dry out, it looks dead inside, which it's not doing so hot at the moment. But anyway, yeah, so that is her. She's like a real clear favorite. I just think this is just so fantastic. And honestly, the kind of more complicated textured begonias like this really used to scare me a lot. And I'm really happy that this is doing well. And maybe it's a sign that I need to get like some other ones that look like this. But yeah, an absolute beauty. This plant was first published in 1971, which is not that long ago, and it is native to China and Vietnam. It's also used to kind of wet tropical habitats. A lot of begonias are found in those kind of habitats, and the type of the roots, if you watch my Plant Basics series, which if you haven't, it gives you a really good background on plants and how they work and how they function. But the root systems of begonias are really fine, really thin, and they form kind of mats. And because of that, they really can't dry out for too long because they just become absolutely desiccated. So that can teach you a lot about how begonias kind of deal with water. And that's because they're in habitats that are wet, and they have, you know, they have plenty available moisture and water consistently, which is why they can have that kind of root system. They don't need to travel far to get water. So guys, that is it for my July favorites. I hope that you enjoyed. Let me know if you have some of these, and let me know what your favorites are for this month. What plants of yours are doing really well? Do I have them? Do I not have them? What's floating your boat recently? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much to my lovely patrons for supporting me this month. In the species tier, we have Grace and Siobhan. In the genus tier, we have Amy, a fellow Amy. And in the family tier, we have Michael. Thank you all so much for supporting me. If you want to check out my Patreon, it's patreon.com/Amy Adwan, and it is linked in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.